Alright, here we have the 4-speed transmission. In this video we're going to talk about what it is, how it works, pros and cons, and where would you use it. The first bit, what it is. It's a 4-speed, and here are the gear ratios. You have 7 to 1, 1 to 1.667, 1.667 to 1, and 1 to 7. And the engaging system, since really doesn't exist, we coined the term idler gear engaging system. So, IGES, I guess. So, how does it work? Well, to engage one of the speeds or the gears, you have to move this over so this gear and this gear touch this idler gear. Now, the reason this works, and it just doesn't, so it actually moves, is that this gear does not move this axle. It's freely floating on this axle. But this 60-tooth gear is attached to this axle. So I can spin this, clutch engage. I can spin this all I want, and this is not going to move. So to engage it, it's basically like this. It's an idler gear, so these two gears spin the same. The first and the third spin the same. So what you take this is let's switch these gears around so I can actually show you it. You offset them a little bit so they're still touching. Here, let's see if I can get it up there closer. So they're still touching, but that way these two gears, which would be the same size, this is the only gears I have around, but these two gears are connected. So when you disengage it, this gear and this gear are not connected. So it is as if I removed the idler gear from the equation. So you have here your first, your second, your third, and then your fourth. So let's do a demonstration here. Oh, hang on. Alright, so we're going to start in first gear. And as you can tell from this wheel right here, it's not really moving fast. But it has a lot of torque behind it. So here we are in first, and now we're going to go to second. Speeds up. Now, second to third. Now, it's going to get a little loud here, so third to fourth. Alright, go full speed now. Yeah. Pretty cool, isn't it? Alright. Now let's go on to the pros and cons of this type of transmission. The cons with this is size. It's quite large, because you could, if you used these gears, you could fit a three-speed transmission in this space right here, while this is 2-speed. And the other con is its weight. It uses almost more than twice as many gears as you would as if you directly powered the gears to the driven. But the pros with this is you get a neutral, so that way when you're driving, and let's say you need to slow down, you don't necessarily need a clutch for that. You can just go in a neutral and act the same. But we have a clutch anyway. But, and as well as when you're driving, you can easily disengage it without any problem. Where would you use this type of transmission? Well, it's big and bulky, so you wouldn't really use it on your drivetrain because you'd have your motor here and your wheel here. So you have this big bulk here. But let's say you need a lifting mechanism, but not necessarily you need torque all the way. Let's say halfway through, it doesn't need as much torque. So you can start off in torque right here, a lot of torque there. But then you move it over and you have more speed to it. Now, as well as you can't have this gear ratio and this gear ratio in the same space because it takes up space. But what you can do is have this or this. And as well as you could even do a version of this, but where you use the 60 tooth and the 12 tooth right here. So you have, instead of a 7-to-1, you'd have a 5-to-1, which would lessen the amount of speed, but also make it so when you shift, it's less of a gap, because the gap between these two gear ratios is large, extremely large. So that's why there's such a big gap of speed between here and here. Oh, excuse me, here and here. I think I've covered this style of transmission, the IGES. It's funny to name it, but I think I've covered it well enough that you should be able to pick up something very similar to this and use it in everyday VEX or in competition.